thank you for tuning in to another episode of On the Air with Eric Thompson. We are podcasting from downtown Conroe, Texas, in Montgomery County, home of the birthplace of the Texas flag. I'm your host, Eric Thompson. I'm working here today with my tech guru, Mario Aguirre. We have been at it all day. We've got a pretty full program coming up, so we'll tell you a little bit about it. We're going to talk a little bit about the weather. I think we've got some rain coming up in the forecast this weekend. A big deal. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, there was a stay-at-home order issued for Montgomery County. We're going to talk a little bit about what that covers. We're going to come up with some of the COVID numbers. On a sad note, we had a local gentleman that passed away in a tragic accident. We'll talk a bit about that. City elections. The city of Conroe is pushing its May elections off into November. That's been kind of a trend, and we're going to talk about the specifics of that. We're going to touch briefly on the crypto markets, see what's happening there. We're going to look around the state. We're going to see what other cities going on, especially Dallas, Austin. We know a little bit about Houston. We want to take a look around the state, see what's happening. And we are going to, I didn't even say it. Did you know we're getting earthquakes in Texas? Did you know that we've had half a dozen earthquakes this week? I didn't either. I'll tell you more about that coming up. Also, we are going to, We always love to get tidbits, input, stuff from our subscribers, listeners, watchers of our podcast. And we did get something that we enjoyed. It was inspirational, to say the least, and we wanted to share it with you. We also hope that you'll enjoy it. That'll be later in the podcast. We're going to touch briefly on UFC news and who knows, much, much more. So we'll take a look at all that. So let's, you know what? So let's jump right in. But I think before we do that, we probably need to pay some bills. So let's, I'm just going to get this. Let me see. I'm looking to have some technical issues up here. It's always kind of fun. All right. This is where I normally scream Mario, but since I'm already on the air, I'm just going to wing it myself. Mario, how the hell do I get out of here, buddy? Ticky, ticky. Oh, there it is. I love that stuff. All right. Thank you. He had me set for success, and I'm trying to meet his standards. All right. So, body can. All right. So, as you know, I say it all the time. CBD is a lifesaver, and if you're going to use CBD, you might as well use the very best out there, Bodycanna, bodycanna.com. There is no THC in this, but there is 25 milligrams of CBD in every single capsule. You're going to love it. I guarantee it. That's bodycanna.com. Check them out. Go there, order. You can order online. There's next day shipping. You're going to love it. I do. Thanks a lot. Support our sponsors because they support us. Okay, so as we promised, we're going to talk a little bit about the weather. It seems like that today that it was starting to warm up, starting to feel like Texas again. But what I was looking at mostly is just the, I think there's scattered thunderstorm schedule for tomorrow. And then partly cloudy Sunday, 10%. So I don't know. That's not that big of a deal. Let's see what else is happening out there. Okay. So, I have some papers that resort to all that. Okay, bang, bang, love this. Okay, so we have a Montgomery County judge. He's issued a stay-at-home order and a curfew. That starts at 8. We have 12 a.m., but, I think we have that backwards, Mario. I think it's 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. But anyway, let's get this, we'll get this straightened up. So here's the deal. Beginning at 11:59 tonight, the judge said that there is a mandatory curfew, wants everybody in till 6 a.m., and then they are just doing what is called, essential needs to go out. I think that's shopping and whatever else. But just know that if you're here in Montgomery County that you are not to be out roaming wildly after midnight, or who knows what can happen to you. Earlier this week, Harris County, which is to the south of us, and Fort Bend, Brazoria, we've just kind of followed suit. So we want to get our, we want to make sure that we got that word out on that. Then, if that's not bad enough, we're looking today, just a few hours after that announcement came out, the Montgomery County Public Health District came out and said that we got some new infection rates and moved our county total up to 47. So so far we have 300 negative results. We have 174 pending cases, and we have a total of 47 confirmed cases here in Montgomery County. Thus far, we've been lucky enough not to have any deaths, but, I hold our breath and hope our luck holds out. On a sadder note, there was a gentleman. I live and work down here in the downtown district, and we start to see there's a lot of what would you say, homeless people that wander around here and move around here, and you start to see the faces kind of routinely, and you kind of see them as part of the landscape, and you come to know them. There's a guy that I didn't personally know this guy, but it was a really sad story, and I just felt like somebody ought to at least touch on. His name was William Cody Colburn. I didn't know him, but I did recognize him as walking around here. It seemed that he had been sleeping in a dumpster. This would have been on Tuesday morning, and when a trash truck got the trash, he was, I think, somehow killed in the accident and possibly ran over. So a sad note, but anyway, I just want to note the guy was at least here. He was 32 years old. He was from Conroe. It happened about 3:20 in the morning, and anyway, I just wanted to note that he was here and that he will be, at least that he was here. Okay, so city elections. Let's talk about what's up with city elections. Now, it is my understanding. All right, Mario, what am I doing here? How am I doing? Help me out. Oh, there we are. Bang, bang. I'm all over the place. I'm good with this stuff. There we are. City of Conroe postponed May elections until November 2nd. So, I think right now we all know why, that we're not going to go touch a bunch of same voting stuff and let everybody get their fingers on it so we can. Anyway, yeah, so they're going to postpone that till maybe we get control of our little Corona COVID-19 situation. So if you were planning on getting out to vote in May, you've still got a little time to consider your candidate, and hopefully they will survive the summer to make it to the election. So again, yeah, so November 3rd. What else we got going on here? Okay, so I just like to touch on the cryptos. Rarely do I hear people talking about this. I just wanted to touch that Bitcoin is at $6,665.33. That was it bounces all the time. Ethereum was at 137.09. Ripple had jumped to 10%. It was at 18 cents. Yeah, and then what's another one that I'm interested in? Litecoin, 39.74, and yeah, that's the only ones I care about. But anyway, kind of fun in the crypto market, kind of see what's happening there. I want to try to follow that because as times start to get kind of weird, I wonder if people are going to if economics takes a downturn where people gravitate, and will there be a run on that? I don't know. It's kind of fun to watch. All right, what else we have happening? Okie dokie. So, in Dallas, it seems that the National Guard has been there for a while. They have, I guess they've been helping with food and this sorts of supplies and all this kind of thing, maybe just managing stuff. But it said, one of the headlines that I saw was on KXAN. I think that is an Austin news station. They said that the Texas National Guard troops, in addition to doing the help that they have been, that they may be going door to door and doing checkups around Dallas. And so that was Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins said that. They said they would be on a, quote, medical mission, and they wouldn't be there for any law enforcement reasons. They would check in with people to see who they might have come in contact with a coronavirus patient. And so, as kind of heavy-handed as that might sound, just letting the public know that they are not there for any other reasons than a medical mission, that may be the kind of steps that are going to need to be in place everywhere if we're going to get out in front of that. And later in the program, we're going to talk a little bit about different ways that I think that we might possibly, try to get out in front of this. Also, another thing, we just got our stay-at-home order that's going to be effective in just a few hours here, effective at 11:59 tonight. But Austin had the mayor there. His name is Steve Adler, and what he said was that he said that it scares him what's going on in New York right now, and I think rightfully so. But he emphasized, and I'm going to go out and agree with this cat, that does not have to be our future. He said that we get to decide. We have the time now because we acted early enough. So what he goes on to say is, but all of this was a nice way of cushioning the message that the quarantine, that the stay inside order could be extended past the original April 12th, 13th date. So around the city, states that acted a little earlier than Montgomery County, cities that had acted a little earlier than Montgomery County. National Guard troops could possibly go door to door in Dallas, and Austin is saying that the stay-at-home order is probably going to be extended for a period of time that is longer than they originally said. So is that in our future? I don't know. Excuse me. Okay, so as promised, we have now come to a part where we like to, if we get input from our viewers, hey, you are welcome to send tidbits into us. As always, you can PM us. Oh, this is a good time to say it. Hey, you should like this channel. You could like it. You should subscribe and do all that cool stuff. So don't leave now. But when you get finished, make sure there's a bell and a button and all kinds of cool stuff. Get involved, man. It'll help me out. And but before we do, we are going to turn you on to one of our subscribers. He was very enthusiastic and wanted to share a super positive message. So we are going to go check this out. So what can I say? Check this out. Show them what we got, Mario.
All right, everybody out there. Now that the end of the world is hit, and all your wives are screaming for men like me instead of puss guts like you, we're going to try and change that. We're going to do some pull-ups. Pull-ups. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you rock it around a little bit. See that? Yeah, hey, you, glasses. Yeah, you hear what I'm talking about. Till next time, work on those. See ya.
Oh, God. Was that the one we meant to show? Okay, moving forward. In West Texas, things have been rocking and rolling out there. For most people, I've lived in Texas my whole life. I don't really remember any earthquakes, but it seems people out there have had 6 quakes in 2 days. Can you imagine that? That's way out in West Texas. Probably has absolutely nothing to do with the fracking that goes on in the region. But it says that the towns of Orla and Mentone, never been to either one of them. I'm sure they're way out there. They said they've had 6 earthquakes, 2 days. They've ranged from 2.7 all the way up to a whopping magnitude 5.0. We don't really have earthquakes like that in Texas, man. So is that a big deal having half a dozen earthquakes in a couple of days? I don't know. So anyway, something to keep an eye on, probably. Okay, so as I do these shows, I always try to take critique and try to improve each time, baby steps, baby steps. Well, they told me a little bit about the sound on my last episode, so we've tried to address that issue. And then to appease one of my subscribers that thinks that I got a little too deep and fascinated by all of my my UFC talk, I just wanted to, I'll make this super, super quick. I can't leave without saying it. KHABIB versus Ferguson for the lightweight championship. They don't know where in the world it is going to be held. They say there's going to be 10 people in a room. This is going to be like a quiet bar. It's going to be like a quiet schoolyard brawl. That's just going to happen in basically an empty room if you believe Dana White. We'll keep you posted. But KHABIB versus Ferguson, it was supposed to be held in a 20 or 30,000 seat. I think it was a Barclays Center, and that's not happening. So we'll see. But I'll keep you posted on that. But I think it's very, very interesting. I can't wait to see where this fight is held and how they're going to handle the rest of the card. Yada yada yada. Ooh, I almost slipped down the rabbit hole, but I was thinking about you, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, wait. There is one other thing I have to talk about. Light heavyweight champ Jon Jones, God, dude, can't stay out of trouble. My God, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, last night got pulled over, DWI, was shooting his gun, had an empty shell casing, had a little reefer down the front of his shirt, kind of smelled like a little boozy, had an open bottle of, believe it or not, it turns out to be that he had a half-empty bottle of the vodka that's put out by Jorge Masvidal. I forget the name of it, but whatever it is, it was his name. But anyway, so they have found a bottle of booze in the car. Jon Jones cannot stay out of this stuff. So anyway, here's Jon with his new portrait. Dude, it sucks to be Jon Jones. Probably not. I mean, dude. Anyway, I hope that he is able to get out of that, but I think it's drunk driving, having a pistol, and some other stuff. So good luck, Jon Jones. Dude, is it just me, or does everyone have this stuff? I mean, as I'm looking around, at first I saw that we had some local people. We had the principal, we had the police officer, and then just other notable people are starting to get it. But now we have the Channel 13 guy, and I was going to try to like make a list of all of the famous people because I thought it would be a handful. Oh hell no, it's a big list. I mean, people that you know are getting in and dying, actors, all that sort of thing. We have Boris Johnson, who's a UK, what is it? I think he's the Prime Minister. That's exactly it. 55. This dude has it. Prince Charles, he's like 70 something. He has it. Then the lady in between, I didn't know about her, but I was reading her story and it just kind of caught me. Her name is Intan Clement. She's a French woman with I think a dual French Australian passport. Completely healthy, non-smoker, 30 years old. She said that it got very difficult at times to breathe while skiing, and my body got quite tired. She assumed that because she hadn't been skiing in years. Then, so this woman's fit. She's the type of lady that skis and all this type of stuff. She goes on to get so sick, she says she couldn't breathe, thought she was going to die. So then, because in the beginning we thought that all this stuff was pretty much just aimed at, old sick people who smoke cigarettes and were overweight or something. But now we're starting to see that there is nobody left behind. As a matter of fact, in California, there was a 17-year-old boy. He is the first teen that is believed to have died. He actually went for treatment. They turned him away because he didn't have insurance. So that kind of stinks. But anyway, that was in Lancaster, California. So hate to hear that for him, but just goes to show that the first teen died. And I can't help but think back to those big clusters of kids on the beach. And I wonder if it's not going to be a lot more of that coming up in the near future. All the people that thought they may have been immune to that I hope their luck holds out for them. Okay, what else we got? All right. Oh, back to that. All right. So, we did that part of the show. That worked out pretty good. But so here's the thing. I wanted to, at this part, I kind of wanted just to talk a little bit about what's going on, man. Some patterns, some little mathematical patterns and some stuff to look out for and just some general things that I've been thinking about. I can't help but notice that 90 days ago, let me put it like this. 90 days ago, we had never even heard of this stuff. It wasn't even on our radar. We were going on life as normal. Now, this virus is in like every country in the world. I know that earlier today, there was 500,000 people, but I think it might have jumped up to something almost close to 6 by the time we put this together, but worldwide. And that's that we know about. Those are positive tests. So many more that we don't know about. This thing has crashed economies. We've seen first world health systems have just been slayed, man. They've been laid in shambles. Hospitals filled to complete capacity. They have, and then outside in public places that are normally teeming in the springtime, this time of year, they're empty. And I've seen all these cams around the globe of all these, great spots to be in the springtime, and they are completely empty. People are working from home, separated from friends, and it is to call it anything short of an absolute disruption to modern society would be selling it short, man. It's bizarre out there. There are no more routines. So, here's the deal. I wanted to put up a couple of things about this pandemic, and what's really worrying me is about the numbers that this has. Let's just move forward. So they were saying, oh God, I said 500,000, and then by the time we did this graphic, it was 585. Good God, it jumped 85,000 people globally in the couple hours while we were putting this thing together. So it says 26,000. So unbelievable. This is some things that I wanted to just share with you. So the Global Health Security Index, and this was put out earlier in the year or whatever. And what they do is it's a group, and they rate if a country is ready to deal with a pandemic. And what is strange is that they gave the U.S. the very highest score in the world. They gave it an 83.5, and you can see it's followed by the UK, the Netherlands, Australia, so on and so forth. But as we watched this pandemic kind of roll across, we have seen that Italy got ran over by this first world nation, and that we are standing on the precipice of some pretty serious stuff. And, you know, it's not like that we didn't see this type of thing coming. So I hate to say this, but I believe in the month of April, we're all going to know somebody personally that has this disease. That's coming in the next 30 days. I can't imagine that you don't know somebody personally that has this disease or infection, or however you want to talk about it. And this has imprinted, that changed fundamentally how we're doing stuff. But anyway, there's a lot of crazy stuff that had happened. I talked about the people on the beach. I think that sometimes people have been slow to act. They've kind of not wanted to piss off the citizenry, so they give them light little half measures to make everybody happy. But that's not really, I don't think that's really what it's going to take to stop this thing. So one of the obvious questions that, here I had another slide that I wanted to share with you. This was, it talks right here. It talks about the healthiest countries in the world. This is, it's a global health index. Shows all these countries. And something I wanted to point out to you, if you look on that chart, it says that the U.S. has 73, gives them a score of 73, but it even gave Italy a higher score of 91. And it gave Spain the highest score in Europe of 92, almost 93. So here's the thing. Prior to this pandemic, the global health index would have ranked Italy and Spain both better and healthier to deal with a pandemic than the United States. I mean, technically they made 90 somethings and we made a 73. And as now the World Health Organization is starting to say that the U.S. has 100% taken the lead on the globe of the very most cases of infections, and this party's just getting started here, and this is scary. It seemed like the country that everybody thought was going to fare the very, very best. We are not doing that. So here it becomes the obvious question. It becomes like, what now? You know, and just to put it lightly, we have seen this coming since China had it months and months ago, and if this were a race, you could technically say that we literally stumbled coming out of the blocks. It's we've just failed. Now there's a guy. I'm going to butcher his name. It's Nahid. I don't actually know what. I'm assuming that it's a he. It may be a lady. It may be a man. But it's a doctor, Nahid Badeli. And they're an infectious disease doc. And he said no matter what, a coronavirus like this is going to max out any modern hospital system on the globe. And and he said even well-equipped systems are going to be just completely ran over by this. He talks about it's more transmittable and fatal, and more fatal than the seasonal flu. So there's that. And the other thing is that the new coronavirus is also, they say, is stealthier. And by that, he's saying that it kind of loiters, it hangs out, and that the time between when we get it to the time that we feel it is a long time, and during that time we're passing it out like free candy, and that's why it's kind of running wild in the populations. So it takes several days till we feel the symptoms, and it is really tough to take people that don't feel sick and just for any reason to believe that they're not anything other than healthy. But here it becomes a thing. Nations, they have to develop a test. And we have to use that test to identify infected people, because that just has to be the starting block. We have to know who has the disease. And I was kind of looking into like what some Asian countries, between Japan and otherwise, where if a person came down to it, they went back and looked in their credit card history. They looked at all the places they'd gone, where they had been, and other people, and they went and tested people really proactively. And I feel like they were playing a very offensive game with this, where we've kind of tried to play a zone defense and hope that somehow our red, white, and blue was going to scare this virus. And what has happened is we have hope for the best, but as I'm going to share with you in a minute, we are going to get to a point where some of the numbers are kind of brutal. We'll get into that in just a second. So, you know, and here's another question. I don't know the answer to this, and I wish that I did. Maybe somebody watching does, and they can leave me a comment or whatever. How did this outbreak happen in China, in the, what is it called, the what is it, Wuhan? Yeah, there we go. Wuhan is the city where it broke out in. And then somehow they contain it to less than 100,000 people in a population of 1.5 billion. So I don't really know how they did that, but I'd like to know what measures they used to contain that. That's very, very interesting. So, but whatever they did, whatever all the Koreans, the South Koreans, the people in Singapore, Hong Kong, China, whatever they did to get out in front of this and offensively attack it, we didn't. We played the zone defense, and we instead opted for our Mardi Gras parties and spring break beaches, and our chickens will come home to roost. So we have a testing failure. That's effectively what has happened in the United States. And like I said a while ago, we basically just fell down in the starting blocks at the beginning of this race. And we've basically been playing a game of catch up ever since. Our testing is basically a complete, I don't want to use the term shit show, but I guess I just did. And the problem is, if you don't know who to test or who's got it, you can't even begin to apply any other of the fixes, of the remedies to address it. Because if you don't know, then you're just ill-informed, just running blind. So the first step in this thing is to find out who's tested. And it is the single most basic thing that we can do. It's common sense. And so if we had good numbers from good tests, we could have tracked this spread early on. And that's basically what the Asian countries did. Community hospitals, instead of just going, gee, I wonder if we're going to get it too, should have been stockpiling goods, getting ready, prepping, training, all of the types of things that they did. Maybe even making COVID-specific facilities or treatment rooms, maybe getting extra supplies. I don't know what they need. I'm not a medical person, but I know that we had some time that I feel like maybe we didn't spend wisely. Instead, we were caught flat-footed. All that stuff should have happened, but it didn't. Now, we are in, I guess we're coming out of the natural flu season finally, but it was a long season. But the medical system that we have on any given day is pretty taxed. And all the general, all of that stuff just didn't go away. It's still coming. And so now we need to, I think as Americans, as Texans, as people in Montgomery County, we need to change the way that we look. There's been times where I've been in regions where there were wildfires and I saw complete communities gather and gather around the firefighters, and it was amazing to do it, and it was amazing to watch what they did. And then you see it in times of flood and all of these types of things. We need to understand something. This is a huge fight, and we have to think of the doctors and nurses literally like soldiers, like people that are fighting a war, because that is exactly what is happening, and we are in the throes of a serious raging battle on our homeland, and they are the front line of this pandemic. And pretty soon, medical facilities, they're going to go get just like in we have no reason. Well, I'm not going to say no reason. I'm happy to see that we are now having more stringent measures, and I hope that they are able to flatten the curve, because if it doesn't, we are about to be in a lot of trouble. We're seeing that medical facilities that used to be pretty stressed are going to very, very soon be at where they just don't have any more basic equipment. You're going to see things like masks and gloves and other supplies. It's going to run out. At first, they're going to have a stack, and it's going to get smaller and smaller, and eventually, they're going to take the last one. And then what are they going to use? Like a bandana? So I don't really know how that happens, but one of the things, and I'm going to put you know what? It's probably a good time just to go ahead and put that up. I'm going to put that up right now. Is that, oh, wait a second. I'll put it in just a second. So look, here's the thing. Hospital beds are going to be in shortage very quickly. It's going to, right now, if we continue at these rates, we are going to have in the coming months lines of sick people waiting for beds. And in the past, I mentioned both floods and wildfires, but those, different than this, is that one region of the country has a problem, the other region helps it. But this is a complete. Everybody is hit by this. Nobody knows how long it's going to last. Nobody can really say how well that they are prepared. Nobody can read the future. And this has some, if this is misplayed, has some dire consequences for a population of 330 million people. No place is unaffected. It seems that, I talk about where the hospitals are starting to buy up stuff the same way that people were buying up toilet paper. It seems like hospitals were scared to death and started buying up drugs. And so it talks about even stockpiling in hospitals in one area and then being absolutely out. Now, I don't want to use terms like mishandle, but we definitely have to say that America has been a little bit slow to act on this, and now it's chasing this virus. And there was, who was this? This was a lady named Lauren Sauer, and she's like works about disaster preparedness. She said that this was beyond any expectation she had, and her job is to expect bad stuff. Her job is to think about, what if some really bad stuff happened? How bad could it be? And she says it was beyond anything that she had even prepared for. And there's a guy that works at a vaccine alliance, and he said that, and he said this a few days ago, but what I think is very interesting is that what he said is actually coming to play. He said the U.S. may end up with the worst outbreak in the industrialized world. So I want to kick over and just look at this really quick. Here is, man, that's old, and it's crazy. I think that the U.S. now has over 100,000. We put this graphic together, I think it was yesterday, or last night, and it's now over 100,000. But what I want to show is that we have surpassed everybody on the planet, at least in reported cases. So I don't know what, if you believe the numbers, but right now the U.S. has more than anybody else on the planet, and we are taking the lead. And just to be honest, it's just getting started, I fear. If we don't take some big stuff. So looking at today's global numbers, the United States has more documented positive cases than anybody else. So what does this mean in the near term? What are we talking about? What does this hold for us? It is true that we've fallen behind, and it is equally true that it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, for the United States to get on top of the situation. But we have to at least try. So COVID is a fast, and here's the thing. Regrettably, our near term looks rough. I mean, real rough. I'm going to go into how rough in just a minute. At least what I think is possible if we don't take drastic measures. So they talk about that it is a fast-moving and a loitering virus, and so what I wanted to share with you was something. This is a graph that was put together a couple of weeks, about a week ago. Man, so much time has passed. Seems like it was a long time ago. But this was done by a Harvard study. It talks about Houston hospital beds, and this talks about what's going to happen if. And so this goes into infection rates. And so what I wanted to show you is that they're saying that we are going to max out the beds in a few months by a long shot. If there is just if this virus goes through a 6-month cycle, we're going to max out the beds at a 20% rate. But 20% is completely unrealistic, because the common flu, which is less contagious and all that kind of stuff, it has rates higher than that. Now, if you're looking at a population that they're saying somewhere 40 to 60 is much more realistic, and it's kind of what Mario Cuomo was talking about in the population of New York. If we get to those levels, this is going to drag out, and we are going to be maxed out for not the next 6 months, not the next year, but the next 18 months. And if, God forbid, if 60% of the people are infected, we're going to be completely overwhelmed. We have to recognize this. So, and here's a news flash, and I didn't want to be the one to break the news. Italy, that we're seeing, that was so messed up and so overrun by this, has more hospital beds per capita than the United States of America. Let me say that again. Did you see overwhelmed Italy? They have more beds per capita than the United States of America. This is a Harvard study that they did. What is the Harvard Global Health Institute? So it talks about, and this is for the Houston area. So this is our area, not done by me. So let's keep rolling. Let's see what else we got here. Bang. What else? All right. So I want to talk about this. I feel like, at the risk of sounding like a complete lunatic, I'm just applying some basic math on some basic lines at some infection rates that have been going off. And one of the things that we saw was that by the time June gets here, that's 60 days from now, is that one available ICU bed is that, if my calculations are correct, there's going to be about a dozen COVID patients that are trying to get into that bed. And then, and by the time August gets here, if worst case scenarios pan out, this pandemic will have killed 2.5 to 3.5 million Americans. That's Americans, not globally. That's Americans. Now, I don't understand why the populations of China did not go off like this, and I can't explain what they did, and that is the big question. But so I just did some basic math, and I'd like you to look at it. So, what was it today? Today they came in and said that we had 41. Yeah, as of today, which is the 27th, we have yesterday's stats. They said 41. If we have like some kind of worst case scenario, we're going to have something that looks like, if I'm guessing right, April 1st is going to look like 150 people right here in Montgomery County. I didn't put this up there, but I think it's worth stopping and saying, right now in the United States, they are seeing a death rate of about 2%. That means that at this rate, if it takes off, that's in the next week, that we are possibly going to start to see one of our first fatalities in Montgomery County, and possibly up to 3 coming up by April 1st, and that is just a few days from now. What I'm doing is I'm multiplying by a factor of 1.3 each day, and that time I didn't make that line up. I was trying to look at the math and kind of see, barring any weird anomalies, about the rate that was growing. And what it had been growing was at a factor of about 1.3 through Montgomery County. So I applied that. So I looked at what would happen if I continued to apply a 1.3 factor to that. That means that the 7th of April, we're looking at something like 700 people that are going to have contracted the virus, or at least tested positive for the virus in Montgomery County. Now, this is assuming we have the test, but at the current rate, that's what we're looking at. And if 2% holds up, what is that, like 14 deaths that we're going to have by 7th of April? Is that right? Yeah, that's like 14. That just starts to seem like a lot of people that are going. So I hope that this is wrong. But the reason that I'm just starting to show this is how quickly, and I'm just going to go. Look, so the 10th, we're going to go in. If we don't do anything, if we don't correct our rate, we are going to look at something around 1,500 cases by the 10th of April. What is that going to be? Death rate? Well, you're going to start to look at around 30 people. So if we have on the 15th, if at the continues to climb at a factor of 1.3, we'll be at 4,000. I mean, that's 40 people. At the 20th, at 14,000. These sound like crazy numbers, right? They sound like crazy numbers, except it is what is happening. It is unfolding. And so if you think this sounds crazy, you also have to believe that there is going to be something exceptional that is going to come in and stop this 1.3 factor trend of increase in cases. So if we have 14,000 cases at April 20th, a worst case scenario, I don't want to believe this. I'm just saying that something has to have happened. So we're seeing that it could feasibly go to 80,000 by the 27th, and there could be 250,000 people in this county that has the virus. Now you're saying, hey, that sounds wacky. You're right, it does. But if you go back to, and let me just do it, bang, 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 bang. Oh, here it is. Look at these infection rates. They're talking about infection rates of 40 to 60% that are going to be real. I mean, so let's just use something in the middle. Hell, let's be conservative. Let's say that we're exceptional, 40%. Man, 40%, I believe that we have something in the neighborhood of, 600,000 people in Montgomery County. Do some quick math. You're looking at 240,000 people. You can arrive at this figure a lot of different ways. But if we hold up to the trend, that's what we're looking at. I don't know if it plays out in April. What I hope is that we are seeing the result now of things that happened during spring break and all that insanity. So what we hope happens is that we see a spike from all of that horrible practice, that lack of discipline, but then all of a sudden us tighten it up should flatten out the curve in front of us. If this doesn't work and we see these outstanding numbers, we are going to be in a lot of trouble. So I'll move forward. Is that we could be at 250,000 cases at the end of the month. So what do we have to do? We have to get our stuff together. We've got to tool up. We've got to gear up. We have to get like some kind of massive production of gloves and other personal equipment. I don't know how we got in this situation where Wuhan is the largest. What is it? Where they make all the masks. The largest mask producer in the world is in Wuhan, the place where the virus is. And then they talk in Italy, where it's broke out. The Lombardy region is a place where they make I don't know, what some of the swabs that are highly important. Man, it seems like the places where we need the things to get are the places where the outbreak is. So anyway, so what is happening is I'll just say this. If we get these numbers, we will not be immune to the eventualities that are now in Italy and Spain, where they are out of rooms, they're out of staff, they're out of supplies. What is happening is looking like battlefield triage stuff there. They are literally rationing patient care. It says that they are having to give care and meds and beds to patients that are most likely to survive. Let me say that again. They are having to give and spend supplies and meds and beds and staff on those who are most likely to survive. And it says that is a complete nightmare for that. And as I said earlier, that we have fewer beds in the United States than Italy. So that was done by a study by the Imperial College of London. Okay, so we talked about we've got to get it together. So our medical people, as I said earlier, the frontline troops in this war. If a health person gets sick, and it breaks down, we don't have a front line. So I guess what I'm saying, the medical gear that they need is so important that if we don't get it to these people and they get sick, we don't have a front line between us and that virus when all the doctors and nurses are sick. So we have to get the people the gear. It says that there's stockpiles and all this stuff. And yeah, this goes on to say that the manufacturing center for all the medical was at Hubei province in China. That's the same place where Wuhan is. And then so right now that the U.S. that Donald Trump has, they're dipping into the National Strategic Reserve, or the Strategic National Stockpile, I think it's called. Anyway, it's basically like a giant hoard of medical equipment. So this is already being sent to some of the hardest hit areas. So the crazy thing is, just like that stack of masks in a hospital closet, there's a limit to this. It will run out. And when that happens, then what? It is not an inexhaustible resource that just will never end. We have to figure out what's going on. And much like we haven't seen since World War II, Wednesday, Donald Trump, our president, invoked what is called it's called the Defense Production Act. And what it does, it mandates that American companies start to manufacture on the basis of, normally in the past, it was like when Detroit got re-outfitted to make tank parts. Well, right now, American businesses and manufacturing are having to get down and make all of the masks, the gloves, the tests, all of that kind of stuff. And so they are in a crazy race to make that happen right now. So that's the first time that's been happening since World War II. It's my humble opinion that the Department of Defense, or whoever that is, should get involved. They have a defense logistics agency is 20 some odd thousand people that helps prepare the United States for jumping out for overseas operations. They also helped in the 2014 Ebola outbreak. Now, the second thing is tests, and more tests. The other pressing need that we have in this country right now is we have to get tests out there. We have to maybe get them to oversee this too, because without the tests, we are going to be ran over. Like I said, Lombardy, Italy, hardest hit place in Europe. They're also one of the manufacturers for the what's it called, the nasopharyngeal swabs. You can tell I know what I'm talking about, right? But so I know the FDA is frantically trying to approve these tests. We're trying to get them out. I know they have private labs working towards it. Will you grab a beer from the icebox? And so they have some private labs working towards it. So here, this is not going to happen overnight, but it sure would have helped if it would have happened last night. But during this ramp up, there's a big deal. So here's what's going to happen. Right now, we are preparing for a battle. We are preparing for a battle, and during this time while we're prepping, one of two things is going to happen. Our practices are going to get us to the point that we are able to flatten the curve. Thank you. And we'll be able to flatten the curve. Hey, we are not sponsored by Yellow Rose, but I sure wish we were. Anyway, but if our practices do not flatten the curve, we are in trouble. So here, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to do what we have to do, whether or not it takes people installing city ordinances, curfews, or whatever. We're going to do what we have to do to stay in, or it's going to spiral out of control. It is already to a point that no country in the world has as many cases, and everybody, no one is doubting the idea that this is just getting started for the United States. So, can we contain it? So, you know, and here's the other thing. I was just talking about our practices is that we have to contain it. It's our only option, because without that, our fate is basically in our own clean hands and our responsible social practices. It's basically the discipline of social distancing. It has to start with limiting the people. It has to start to slow it down. So there's no way around this truth. The number of Americans who die are going to be directly proportional to the discipline of our practices. So that's all I can say about that. So if we are going to, when I talk about social distancing, just consider it like we're being invaded. And every able-bodied troop is scrambling up to advance, whether they're a doctor or a nurse or a supply driver, maybe a medical clerk. All of those people are going to fight this battle, and they are our future heroes. They are the people that are literally risking their lives, not going home to their families, whatever, so that maybe you and your family don't get sick. And so they are literally fighting for their lives in the realest way. In the meantime, if you're like me and you happen to be one of those people that are not directly involved in the medical field, the least that we can do is basically stay the hell out of their way. And don't create any more cases by really undisciplined habits. And I don't want to keep harping on it, but like spring break and Mardi Gras, those are literally like lighting forest fires and it's crazy. So I know right now saying this, it sounds like I'm an unhinged kook, but when we gather in groups, we're literally risking killing one another, and I'm just going to say it. So the single most powerful thing that we can do is a self-quarantine. It's quarantine ourselves. Woo. It's to quarantine ourselves. I know that life goes on. I know that we have to get groceries, but we have to be disciplined. We have to plan our trips wisely, limit the amount of people that we're in contact with, limit the amount of trips that we take. If you're going to go, don't just think that the store is going to have alcohol. Take your own alcohol. Make your own stuff. Take it with you in a plastic, because you are going to have to take your health into your own hands. What else do I want to jump into? So a couple of things, and I'll just kind of say this. We're at a tipping point, and I know that I usually support Donald Trump, and I know that he generally was hoping to have something, pull a rabbit out of his hat, and have the country back open for Easter. That is the craziest move of the world, and everything that we've done up to this point might as well have never done it. It would be all for naught to gather in crowds across this country with this already preceded infection rate to just think that it's going to be okay just for Easter. We will kill one another. That is dangerous. Do not do that. So we have to. They're saying that right now that if by our efforts of just hard quarantine and social distancing, if we were able to get 95% of the cases to slow down, we still don't have enough ventilators. There'd still be 1 million people, and we have about 180,000 ventilators across the United States. So granted, they're not all going to be in the same bed at the same time, but we don't have enough ventilators to keep people breathing. There's going to be a point when people are going to need a ventilator, and they're not going to have one, and they're going to die. So, I know that everybody hoped that it wasn't going to be that bad, but that is it. And I'm just going to say this. This is going to happen in the very near future. April is going to be a brutal month. We are going to know whether or not we are going to have a epic biblical style plague on our hands, or whether or not we're going to be disciplined enough to get out in front of it. So, even if we play the rest of our cards perfectly from here forward, it's not going to stop a pandemic. We are in the throes of this thing, and we already got our nose bloodied. If this virus remains alive anywhere in the world or on this planet, there's a chance that they can reinfect other populations that basically at the moment have it under control. And what I wonder is, if China was able to keep massive amounts of its population from getting the virus, does that mean that there are 1 billion people with no antibodies built up from a viral load from what they have that are just ready to be shot? Ready to get it? Or do they have a vaccine that they're not shot? I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just saying that it just seems to me that there's 1 billion people ready to get this stuff if only 100,000 people in China got it. There's no easy way out of this. We've got some hard decisions to make, and they aren't always going to be between good and bad, but between bad and worse, and hopefully not a lot worse. So it would be really cool if we could just all of a sudden magically pull a rabbit out of our hat, kind of like we did in, 2003 with the SARS outbreak, when they were literally able to get everybody on the planet that had it and quarantine them all at the same time. Or pretty close to at the same time. Well, that didn't happen here. So that would have been cool but since that's not not going to happen, let's look at some possible end games. What's going to happen here? How does this hand of cards play out? So, and the deal is, hell, we can't even get tests here right now, much less quarantine everybody that has it. So for the next foreseeable future, there is the way out of this is so wrought with peril, and the loss of human life is going to be a lot more than anybody is telling you. I don't know why politicians or leaders are not telling you the hard truth, but the math doesn't lie, and the rest of the world is basically your example. Look, I'll put this. We have basically an eventuality that maybe it can be avoided. I don't know, but at this point, it's pretty much unavoided. To put it in simplest terms, if this thing goes out of control and runs wild, it's going to kill 100 million people globally. Easy. And eventually there'll be no more living hosts, and everyone who has had it and survived has basically built up a natural immunity, and the humans left on the planet are all going to have it, and the virus won't have any more hosts, and then maybe it dies and goes dormant or whatever. Now, I don't know how that works with new birth rates and all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't seem to me that could really be possible, but that's one of the ideas, and people call that like herd immunity, where everybody gets it, all the survivors have an immunity to it, and it kind of goes away. Now, it seems that Europe is kind of, it's just through absence of another plan that they've just kind of defaulted to that as a strategy. And it seems like that may be what's happening in the United States. So we have a third scenario, and that's basically that, and probably a more real scenario is kind of a mix between them. We're going to have a world where we are going to have sporadic outbreaks of this stuff, of the coronavirus. We're going to try to contain them like little hot spots, like the Dustin Hoffman movie. I forgot what it was, where they ran around in little moon suits and all that kind of stuff. But and we are going to and basically until we find a wide scale cure for this, that's what's going to happen. Is we're going to chase around the hot spots. So it may be that. So here's for example, if this were the common flu. We have lots and lots of experience with kind of knowing what the flu is going to do. We might even make some good guesses. And if we guess right, we can have a pre-standing vaccine already ready. And so we have a lot of experience. But this is a brand new pathogen. We have to start from the beginning. We have to wait, and they have to work, and we have to hope and hope like hell that we're going to find something fast. I know that last Monday, there was a company called Moderna, and they had a vaccine that had basically gone into early clinical testing. And right now this is happening really fast because they have just 60 days ago started working on this stuff, and they're already having it from inception to concept to already getting into a clinical trial. So the commercial world is trying to catch up to this. So, but here is the thing. if this works, if they find a vaccine for this, who's going to make it? And who's going to distribute it? And all the logistics that are going to go, they're going to be going out to doing that. So here's the thing. I believe that we are going to be in the throes of this all summer long. And maybe, I hope to God, my predictions about April are very, very wrong. But instead of it all happening in April, it may take to go out over the next months. But we are on the precipice of losing a lot of lives and a lot of people getting sick and being forever altered from this. So we need to just wrap our minds around that it's going to be a long year. This isn't going to be something that's going to be over in a week. If you can hear the train in the background, I'm right here at the confluence of a couple of tracks. But it's going to be a long year. And during this wind-up, we've got to continue to practice social distancing. We have got to continue to practice this discipline long after the newness has worn off. Eventually life is going to go back to normal. We're going to have a post-corona normal, and we're going to go back. Offices, bars, they're going to fill back up. The downtown's going to have music playing in again. The art gallery is going to have people in there. The courthouse is going to start its grind again. I get that. All of that will come back. Schools are going to reopen, but probably not this year. I think it's going to be for fall. But I don't think it's going to be back to business as usual. I don't think that we're ever going to do. I don't think that we're ever going to be back to normal. So here's where we are. One of the problems is that the seasonality of this virus. When I was talking about how long that it could go on, we don't know when this virus is. Now, normally coronaviruses are really active in the winter, but they don't know that this strain may go on, and it's always winter someplace on the planet. So I'm not sure how this is gonna play out. So, and then the other thing is duration. How long do you stay immune? Do you stay immune for a season or a year? Are you immune forever? Probably not, but I don't know. Who knows? And it takes all this kind of data and testing and all this stuff that we're not doing at present. So we have to change our footing from defensive to offensive. We have to go on the offense if we're going to get in front of this. We can buy some time with what we do, which is kind of what this whole podcast has been about, is just trying to get people to realize that it is damn important what we do right now. Wash your hands, practice what you're doing, don't gather. But look, and here's the other thing. And just in the future, I'm going to close this up. I feel like I've gone kind of long here. Look, we have to make some fundamental changes. We have to survive this. We have to look out for the people that are sick. We have to survive this as a nation. But then the time will come. It's not now, but we have to figure out what the heck went wrong. We have to produce our own stuff. We have to produce our own meds. We have to be sufficient. And this globalism, this model that we've used to get all this free trinket crap that we didn't need from stores like Walmart, maybe we got to rethink this whole thing. Maybe a bunch of cheap crap isn't really worth what it is to be. Maybe we got to get back to a made America thing. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but that's just something to think about. So between now and then, between the now and the time that they either find a cure, find a vaccine, or however they're going to stop this, is that we have to stay diligent. It's not going to be something that we can just do for a little while and then go, oh, it's going to be okay. I'm going to back out of this thing. I just want to say this. Look, we're at a tipping point. We really are, and I'm just going to talk about this. No one's ever seen anything like this. 1 in 5 people have lost, to some degree, lost hours or lost their job. Social change is here forever. I don't think that the way that we do business, I don't think the way that the people, institutions, hell, we may have large change in governmental institutions based on this. We have not seen. The ripples have not quite gone across the pond for this. So anyway, we're going to survive this. We're going to be stronger, wiser as a community and a nation. But between now and then, we have got to pay it forward. We've got to do the right thing just because we're going to kill each other if we don't. I am out of here. Stay tuned. I'm going to try to... anyway, I just want to show you one more piece of math before I went out of here. So look, I was talking about 600,000 people. There's the Montgomery County population. So even at a 40% rate, we're looking at 250,000 people. If you're looking at the die rate, the death population that we're looking at about 2%, that's about 500 people. So there's a lot of stuff going to happen. That's it. I'm out of here for now. Wash your hands. Stay tuned. Hey, do me a favor. Like, subscribe. I really appreciate you checking out my show. We work hard, Mario. Huge thanks to you, buddy. I know you've been working all day long. Thanks again. Bodycanna, www.bodycanna.com. And as always, we love input from our subscribers. So if you have something you'd like to shoot over to me, hit me up on the notes or comments. Try to act right. Social distancing. Wash your hands. I'll see you.